when you're always in the lobby with somebody, after a while, when that's not your frequency, you leave. You go to the rooftop.
Mm-hmm.
You don't stay there. We didn't come here to stay in the lobby.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the smartest guys in the room. It's your boy O.
I'm Big Just.
And I'm Jeff, and today we have a wonderful special guest.
Super excited about this one.
There's a lot to say, but let's start with at the top. Creative director, stylist, podcaster, host of the Art of HappiHER podcast. Welcome, Sandy J.
Hey.
What's up, Sandy?
Hi, guys.
How we doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad that you're happy. I feel like your energy, and the good thing is that we're going to be talking about energies today. But like, your energy is radiating. We feel it.
Yeah.
And the reason we really wanted to talk to you today was, aside from all of the multifaceted creative things that you do during your regular life every single day, you are a student of the metaphysical. You are helping to guide your friends, your family, and anyone who is willing to listen to this, to guide them spiritually. I'm really excited about talking about this because I think that this year is, getting to a place where we're feeling good about ourselves spiritually, physically, and all of the above. It's kind of been a common theme with everybody that we've been talking about. So we want to dive into the smartness of what the medical physical world is. Metaphysical world. We're going to dive into the smartness of the metaphysical world.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to talk about some Doctor Strange stuff, which I'm excited about. A little bit about the Zodiac. A little bit about you got some gifts also. You got some things to show and tell over here.
Well, we're going to be talking about the chart, astrological chart. Yeah, we're going to be talking about metaphysics, like you said, and spiritualism and mental health, and how can those things help us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so real quick, like, I know one thing that we did ahead of this episode is we prepped Sandy with our birth dates and times, and she did a little bit of deep diving on each one of us. She went really heavy on me, because it's
there was a lot of material.
a lot of material to work with. She wrote all that. She wrote all of this. This is going to be insane. So really excited to jump into that. But
yeah, I think before that, like, you've had so many different experiences. You worked in fashion doing styling. You worked at Fashion Weeks, both of them, but also kind of bringing that talent into the entertainment space as well, like within music shoots and kind of doing all that. Like, do you think that somehow had something to do with your interests kind of growing within like the metaphysical stuff, like your experiences before that, or like has this always been something that you've been into?
So I feel like definitely there's a feel of both things happening at the same time. Life happens, and when life happens, you get lessons, and then those lessons teach you something, and then I've been open to learn, and I've been blessed to be around people that have taught me. Yeah. But those things are happening at the same time when I'm learning about myself.
Yeah.
So that's what's been happening for me. And in what I find that in the spaces of creative people, creative people are alchemists and they don't even know it, right? Like, they don't call it that, but creative people make things happen, and they dream up a lot for themselves. And I've been in those spaces. I've been blessed to be in those spaces, and I've been studying how creative people have this light and they just follow it. And I've been studying that so much that I've been taking notes on, like, what if I apply that to myself?
Yeah. Do you see any common like trends in creatives? Like anything that stood out to you is like, oh, I would have probably never expected that. Like kind of you're taking notice of all these different people doing creative stuff. Like, is there anything that you're like, oh, like I definitely wasn't thinking about that, but good to know now.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, what I've realized is that creative people, they how they channel their creativity with like because of life experiences. Not only that, but they know creative. What they have in common is that they know. They know from the moment they start using logic that there's something there.
Yeah.
There's like a little level of crazy within every creative, though,
100%.
right? Like that's one of the awesome things about just working with creatives is that you're working with so many different types of personalities, right? So like, how are you able to like, how have you been able to use a lot of your skills to channel in on those individuals? And like, how have you been able to like, I guess, help them be the best?
Navigate?
Yeah.
It's been a thing of having connections with people. Once you build a rapport with someone one-on-one, they're able to shed how they come, and they show me just a little glimpse of that part, and that's what I'm able to connect to. Once I connect to that, I can start asking more personal questions, and then from there I can start like gauging what energies are they using of their planets or whatever. And that's when I start saying, like, I start asking questions, and then the person themselves start seeing them for themselves. No one can tell you about you but you. I'm just here to just like, show you and you pick it. You're the one.
See, that's the wildest thing though. Like, I feel like the first time that we met was actually here.
Yeah, it was.
During a Viernes Social. And we just started quickly talking. And I felt within 5 minutes, you knew more about me than I knew about myself. I like quickly went home. I told my wife. I told these guys. I was
you
like,
told me that day. You was like, yo,
him, I was like,
bro, like she just read me the fucking filth, bro. Like, this shit is crazy.
She read. It was like I downloaded CoStar right then and there.
Yeah, that day. That everybody was giving me their phones.
Yeah. I did.
And so even like today, like, look, right now you are helping to balance out the masculine energy that's in the room, that everyone is listening to and seeing right now. But like, you were able to read me very quickly to the point where I felt so vulnerable, but also very trusting of you at the same time. And so like I needed to make sure that others like were aware of you and your gifts. And I feel like we're just like barely even scratching the surface when we're saying gifts.
Yeah.
But I guess my question out of all of that is, did you ever help guide P. Diddy?
No, I did not. And I'll tell you why. Because he's called, we have a name for him behind the scenes. And he's so Scorpio, like mysterious, right? So we will have the trailer for him ready. Like if he wants snow in July, whatever, like everything is done and he doesn't show up. But everybody is to the T. And the black excellence thing is a real thing. Like everything has to be excellent to the T. And even though he's not there, the presence is there. Yeah.
Can you tell, because again, this is really kind of a little bit about your journey too.
Yeah.
So it's like, how did you find yourself in that world?
Yeah.
In the entertainment space and even working with some of these figures that are in our culture, some of the largest.
To name a few, stylist for Karol G, right? Or style assistant. You worked with Diddy, not R Diddy, like
D Diddy.
P Diddy.
P. Diddy.
For Ciroc Entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah, and also you've kind of done like strategy for like music videos and like branding and product placement and stuff like that, which is near and dear to my heart because that's like what I do for a living. Like, so it just to piggyback on O's, like, what was that like? Like that must have brought a lot of like, because I think personally, as somebody who works in like branded stuff, that showed me a part of myself that I probably didn't understand, or like certain things about myself that I didn't understand, or like how susceptible we can be to, you know, branding and stuff like that. So I just would love your perspective on that.
So for me, I've been in and out of that world since like, I think since a kid, like high school. I grew up in Washington Heights. Growing up in Washington Heights, I was creative. I had to take my mom's curtains and make a dress out of it, literally, and I have a picture of that.
Classic.
Like I made in junior high school, like a heart-shaped dress from the curtains.
Love that.
And then I took the label of Gap from a shirt and put it on that dress.
Nice.
And went to junior high school and put, accessorized it and
I
just
love that.
walked in.
I love
Because they had like picture day and people had, like the ability or the resource to buy something new and have brand. And that was important growing up. I didn't have that. So I had my mind.
Yeah.
I had my creative side and I used that. So I was always in these spaces and I always, not knowing that I had, besides economical issues or whatever that I didn't allow me to have the resources to really excel in that, I also had imposter syndrome. Because even to this day, I will tell you that I'm in those spaces, but I'm like really like, like, no, I'm just there. It just happened to be there. No, I worked hard to be there.
To get there.
And I have to battle myself for that. Like push the other me. Like, no, like you were there because you, not only did you meet amazing people that opened the doors for you, which is the circle of women that I have around me. My boss is my mentor. And not only is she my mentor, she's my sister. And like sister without, blood sister. And she is my friend. So she is a woman that used to work for Chandon, Moet Chandon, back in the 90s or whatever. And she is in those spaces. And when she was in those spaces, she brought me in. And that's what I've been doing. Like I bring other women in, other women that look like me, that are brown and black. So in these spaces, yes, I've worked hard, but at the same time, I've made wonderful connections that open up the door for me.
Yeah.
And that's how it's been.
But within like your journey, like when did you start getting comfortable with finding your spirituality, or where did you find that?
So with spirituality, for me, it's been in different points in my life. I can tell you that I started leaning more into the cosmos when I was like at my lowest. Because I feel like when you're at the lowest, you want to find a light somewhere and you want to hold on to something. Definitely, I've always believed in a higher power. And I know that I'm not alone in this world, that we have community and that we are all one. But my dark night, like what they in the spiritual world, what they call the dark night of the spirit is like what woke you up in the middle of the night, or like that breakdown, like that crying on the floor with boogers.
Yeah. It's
That
complete
thing,
meltdown.
Yeah.
that
Complete.
meltdown of that feeling that that you're supposed to do something more, or that there's something else but you don't know how to, or you
It's
don't
like
know
a breakthrough
how to
moment
begin.
type.
That moment happened to me, like I could tell you, 2016 in the bathroom in my house. My ex-husband and I had bought a house. We had kids. Everything was perfect, but I wasn't feeling perfect. And I had that moment where I was like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here? Like, And it was, if your mom probably knows, it was my Saturn return. It was when Saturn was doing its whole around the Earth and was in my sign, and it was I wasn't 30. I was 32, but it's usually like that, like around that time around your third, 27, 34, that something happens in your life that turns everything around and makes you look at yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what happened for me. That was the greatest point. That's when I started going to therapy. That's when I started just doing self-help, reading, finding community, doing stuff for other people, volunteering myself, doing things like with a purpose, and just evolving.
I think there's so much there's an importance of what you said about like the actions that you took, because they all have a common thread of like forgetting about yourself for a second and like see how you can be like what you can do for others, and not just directly but like even indirectly. Some of the things you mentioned are not like very specific doing things for others, but they are part of like doing things outside of yourself, right? Like and I imagine that these times you're like probably so inside because you're thinking about all these things that are happening that you kind of decided to go outward and like share more of yourself with other people.
It's funny that you see it that way. It's interesting because I feel like it was the other way around.
Interesting. Like you found like it was like recharging you almost, like doing
that
this
it's like more like a selfish thing. It's more like what can I do to make myself happy without worrying about disappointing other people.
I would have
so
would have never thought of it like
it's
that.
It's very interesting that you say that, because that's how I look at exerting creative energy.
And that's what
I find me doing anything creative at any point something that I'm doing for myself and not for others. Do I care like
at the end of
what happens at the end
Sure.
result? Sure.
Yeah.
But in that time and moment, preparing for that moment, it's like
it's not instrumental to like
to anything other than
I need this to get out.
Yeah, this brings me it makes me happy. It brings me joy. So I want to continue doing this. It has nothing to do with anything else whatsoever. But if I'm not doing that, if I'm not, and this is what we were talking about earlier. Also, it's that idea of being comfortable with quiet. I'm not comfortable with quiet, so I constantly need to be engaged in some way. Creative engagement is where I feel home. Like I feel like it's like the hug. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the hug that you're like, damn, this has been missing.
The shallow waters. It feels like
right,
at least.
Right.
You can swim in there at least.
Yeah.
And that's what I see, that full circle, that yes, in the world of creativity, you have to be so spiritual.
Yeah.
And you are a spiritual person without even putting a term to it. Choosing yourself, choosing your higher self, choosing to create without having to not matter that who gets disappointed. Is a creative, is spiritualism, is getting in touch with yourself. And like, we lose touch of ourselves through others.
Yeah,
for sure.
Being involved with possibility.
And the conditions of other people and their beliefs and, what they put on us and how we grow up. But just stopping and like taking all that off and getting to know you, what you really want.
Yeah.
What makes you. And then, and your purpose, getting to know your purpose and then just doing that to get there. That's spiritualism. And that was my breakthrough.
Yeah.
Because I always put everything and everyone and everybody's feelings before mine.
Yeah.
And definitely my career before me.
Same.
My children before me. My marriage before me. Everything before me. When I started putting myself first, all these doors started opening.
Yep. Like
literally, like I was in Paris, like for Fashion Week. I was sitting in the vault in Louis Vuitton, and I was like, what? Like what the fuck?
I'm really out here.
Like,
really out here, cuz.
Camila Cabello, whatever her name is, the girls, the young girls like her. She's like like in my hotel walking next to me, and I'm like, like Cardi B was in Chanel, and then I'm seeing what's his name doing the Matrix, the movie. He was
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, and asking my opinion and like
know.
on a bag,
I
and
know.
I'm like human person having a human experience just like he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
And-
probably the best person to have it with because he's like super
He's
fucking.
super spiritual.
Yeah.
grounded too.
Yeah.
Like
he's a
very
really
grounded,
grounded
and
dude.
spiritual. And then those are the common things, the common threads that I have in the creative space that I'm able to help people tap into it.
Yeah.
Like, listen, you're spiritual.
I actually really like, and just I would ask you too as a creative, but like I actually really appreciate that answer because some people may not put words to the spirituality, but I think as a creative, you have to imagine possibilities, and just by that act of imagining possibilities,
It's magical.
that's spiritual to me. Like,
Yeah.
because you're imagining about something that doesn't exist currently,
Right.
in the way that it is.
But you can feel it.
Yeah.
It's tangible. You smell it.
Yeah.
You taste it sometimes, like nickel.
Yep.
Like you taste success, whatever that is to you.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
You could feel
Feel
happiness.
it. You when you get itchy palms.
Right.
Like, that's the
feel
sort of stuff.
happiness,
Yeah.
You feel the room.
Yeah.
You walk into spaces and you know if this is it. If this is gonna be the it
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, and that's spiritualism. That's when you're connected to yourself. You know, it's like following. I said this in another podcast. That McConaughey,
Matthew McConaughey.
he has this speech, and it's really short, the Oscar speech, that he says he always follows his hero is himself 10 years ahead of himself.
That's fire.
Every day he follows that's his hero. He wants to be that person 10 years ahead of himself.
That's insane.
If you
You're creating
creatives
a
are
pa-
like
yeah,
that.
You create your own path.
The reason that I say it's insane is because unlike that, right? So for example, I think that like I think about it very much of I want to avoid failure.
yeah.
So like I'm constantly saying to myself, I don't like my biggest, and we've talked about this probably in maybe the first season of the podcast. But like one of my biggest fears in life, one of, is becoming homeless and ending up with nothing.
Oh, me too. I talked about it when I walked in here. I said
Yeah,
I want to be vulnerable.
We started talking about money.
Yeah.
That was the first thing.
Yeah,
we talked
that
about.
was the
You're
first thing, and it comes
right.
from
And we all resonated because I think we all similar backgrounds, similar kind of parent,
right. First
profiles.
generation.
Yep.
You know, you have this mentality where it's like, yo, you don't know when this shit is coming around again, so
Yeah.
you might as well fucking spend it.
Security.
Yeah, and like,
Security.
I get that at face value, right? We get that at face value, but then
Yeah.
like you were mentioning earlier, I don't know if you want to go into that again, but like, there's more to it than just like what it is at this moment. Like, what is it doing for you? How is it serving your greater purpose? This money that's coming into your life, but also like, what's it doing for your future, right? Like, it's not like, I think people look at money for their past. Like, you get money and it's like, oh, this is something that I did, right? But like, I kind of also want to leave a door open for, it's like, I'm getting money now, and it's like for what I'm gonna do.
Yep.
Right. And
what
like,
I'm ultimately do.
I don't know. I don't know if you kind of feel similarly to that, but it really resonated to me when you mentioned that earlier, for sure.
I appreciate what you're saying because you're so much in your male energy that you're doing, right? Male do. And I'm not saying that you're male because everyone has masculine and feminine energies, everybody. But you see money in a way of doing and providing or in that moment, right? For
Installation
me,
as well. Like,
yeah.
Just a general, like, I if I were to
Money's my
visualize
protection.
money, it'll be
Yeah.
like a big pillow, like
Yeah.
a big, like, you know those beanbag chairs that you just like sink
Yeah,
into.
because it is.
That's
right?
that's what money feels like to me. It's like, nah, you can't touch me here. Or like when you were little and you like you got the covers on, and then like your feet comes out, you might get like a little ghost come and get you and shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I'm fully covered when when I feel that money is
Security. Security for sure. For me, for for me, it has been a journey. Money has been a freaking journey because my moon is in Capricorn. So what that means, I'll give you a little thingy what that means. So the moon,
okay.
right? The moon is what your mom knows about you, or like your friends, like your circle, like your inner circle, or like not even your friends, your mom, your brother, like like
More nuclear, like
nuclear, like
cousin, family,
like
like
yeah,
It's like
like
your immediate
moon,
circle.
and your
moon.
knows
best
about you.
friends, that kind of
Yeah,
like
like
more intimate.
moon is like that, right? Your moon
Interesting.
is like that, and your moon usually is how you nurture yourself, and how and it shows up like also like what you like how you present to yourself, like to these people, right? So and the ascending is like what you, if you're an actor and you act in movies and people see you and they see you and they're like, oh, he's probably so much fun, what they assume from you, but then they get to see you one day in a store,
And you're not like that.
and you're not like that, and they're like, oh, I thought you were like
It's the peek behind the curtain.
yeah. So you see that bigger picture, that's your midheaven. That's how you publicly are seen, right? But your ascending,
Your costume.
your ascending is more like what people see kind of, or have an idea, and they meet you in Starbucks and they see that you're kind of, oh, you're not ugly, you're a nice person. Like you're not pretentious. You're not like that villain that I thought, right? Right.
Yeah.
But your moon is more like what your caregiver knows about you and what you know about you, right?
Yeah.
So mine is in Capricorn. And I say this to say is because mine is about providing. If I equate that energy equates what you provide to love and security. I equate success, that part of me, with if my rent is paid.
Yeah.
If
It's like mission accomplished.
if my credit score is that. If I look at my bank account and I have that, and I have investments, and I have the car that I drive, and
The machine is well oiled. Like it's like everything is happening.
And I'm good.
Yeah.
The moment it's negative,
It's a wrap.
I'm upset at life. As if
I feel
I
that.
haven't come this far.
Yeah.
I have to,
You forget everything that you've done to get to that point.
as if my kids don't love me
Regardless.
regardless. I put conditions on myself
Yep.
because that's what's important to me, right? That security, that sense of security. So as a Capricorn moon, that's what happens to me. So I have to stop myself. I have to like journal. I have to meditate, because that will totally affect the relationships that I have with people around me, which I'm sure it has in the past. But it took some self-awareness for me to get to this point and be like, well, I need to be less because Capricorn is in their masculine and they're colder. They come off as colder because Capricorn is in the middle of winter, right? So it's like colder.
Yeah.
So as a mom, the moon is also your mom, and how you nourish other people and how you nourish yourself. I've noticed that I was not nourishing myself very much. That was so hard. I was like a dad to myself, because Capricorn also is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is like Chronos, like have you been doing? This has to be on time.
Yeah.
And to be a perfect mom, you have to have this, that, and the other, or else you're not a good mom.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, like a dad type of thing. So I had to tap into like that part of me and be like, no, like I'm gonna be a better mom to myself. I'm gonna tap into that other energy.
So what would you say is like for people who haven't had their dark night, like what would you say, and for people who don't want to necessarily like experience a dark night, what would be a good jumping off point to get into your spiritual self, or even to wet your feet with like some of the metaphysical aspects of what we've been talking about? Like what would you say is like a good starting point for anyone?
That's a good question. You just like, wow, my wheels are turning. So the dark night of the spirit, not everybody gets it, and it's okay, and everybody defines it differently. What I can call the dark night of the spirit, like I can call that, the crying with the boogers or whatever. But some people could be like, they lost their job.
Okay.
Or some people could be like, wake up and be like, you know what? I'm tired of being tired. Or some people could be like,
Enough of that shit.
I'm sick of my own shit.
Yep.
Gotcha.
You know, like what I mean? Like, and you'd be like, oh, all right, let me dive and start getting curious. Just start to get curious. And then, like we said before, and be open. Because right away, you're coming in with, like you said, loose plans. Loose plans is good. When you have that tightness of, oh, fuck that, and I'm not gonna hear it, then it's not gonna come. It's not gonna come. You gotta start looking. We all seekers. Start looking. Start picking up a book. I don't know what works for you. Some people like listening, podcast, or I don't know, visit a place, or like what we're doing now. Like we are communing with spirituality.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the reason why I asked also is because we have something in common, where it's that, like, so my mom is very spiritual in the same way as you are, and her son is not very spiritual in the same ways. But that's not to say that like I haven't received an awakening of some sort, right? And I'm sure you have the same thing where you're probably telling your son, your children, the same thing my mom tells me, and it's like I'm not totally receptive. So like, have you had any like success in making your children receptive? And if so, like, can you share that with anyone else who might be struggling?
So I have, for those that don't know, I have 3. And
God bless.
Thank you. And they are like, in so many ways, my spiritual awakening also. I have a 25-year-old son. And
This is why I said God bless, because I don't think at face value when somebody sees you, that's not a 25-year-old son is not going to be the first thing that comes to mind. That's insane.
I have
thought we were all the same
two
age here.
sons.
Right?
Yeah, 2 sons. A 25-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Wow, okay.
And that's my baby. That's the 15-year-old. And then I have my daughter. She's 20. They're all in different stages.
Yeah.
And spirituality is not any of their stages. But they are exposed to me. Right? And a lot of people friends will be like, oh, how is it being your kids? I don't know, because I'm not my kids. I have no idea. And I didn't even know that was an issue, right? Like, until people bring it up, like, so how is my daughter is like totally different from me, the opposite. And she's like about her thing, and she's in school, and she works, and she's a makeup artist. She goes to school for nurse practitioner. She's like her mom. Like, she does everything and all, but at the same time, she's different. And like you said, with them, they don't seek. It's just there, and it's available as a resource. And I don't put it on anyone either, at all. They know about it because they see me walking around with Palo Santo or whatever, 3:00 in the morning in the witch's hour, and But I teach them spirituality in real time.
I think that's also a big disconnect, like between me and my mom, like personally speaking, is that like when my mom talks to me, I know what she's talking to me about, right? And the way I describe it is that like we're both talking about the same location, but we're talking about different ways to get there, right? So like all the stuff she believes in, like spiritually and all this, like all that stuff, I also do, but like I don't necessarily have like the
inclination.
like the
The wording.
I don't necessarily use the same tools like star charts and astrology, right?
Right.
Like I use different tools, but ultimately at the end of the day, we arrive at the same place where it's like self-love, like caring for others, but also like building a relationship with yourself enough where like you can now start to say, I'm operating out of an abundance of spirituality, love, money, or whatever, right? But that location, I really feel like is something that needs to like everyone needs to be like, yo,
Find a way.
You can find your way there.
Yeah, I love where the conversation is taking past. So before you get into us and like kind of read us, like I want to say, do you think that this is like the smartest decision that you ever made to get into this stuff? Like, or do you think like, because I'm trying to gauge, you've done so much. Like, I'm trying to gauge how pivotal.
Well, that was actually going to be my question.
Right, like
so like after this Christian Bale Dark Knight moment happened, what was the first thing that really got you into this, or like what was your entry point
to that?
What was that?
Well, it was always there. Walter Mercado, right?
Shout out to that's my guy, bro.
Mucho amor.
Yeah.
Love that,
Okay.
yeah.
Apartment in 186th Street. I'm painting the picture. 186th Street between Amsterdam and Audubon. All the women are in the living room, and the women are shh. Que va a decir ya, va a venir, you know, Libra, va a venir, cállate. You know, you gotta be quiet. Libra's coming. So I used to just pay attention how everybody's talking, but when he's gonna say something about them, they quiet.
Then it's
so I
like,
used
yeah,
to be
everybody
like,
be quiet.
how? But it's about them, and how does he know them? Right? So I'm in the supermarket, and you pick up, you know, little books. I'm 12, and I pick up those handbooks that used to look like the TV guide, and it had horoscopes in it, and zodiac signs and stuff. And
This
I was
is in
like,
Spanish.
I totally remember.
and this is in English.
This is in English. Okay.
This is in English. And, you know, my mom buys it for me. And I'm like totally into this thing. And no one in my house thought it was bogus. Like everybody was like, oh, she's just busy. She's always,
it's harmless.
Yeah,
it is.
And she's always reading. She's weird. You know? And that was it for me. Definitely reading and buying all those books. And I have a book that I haven't even returned from the library when I was a kid, that it had to do with the stars and whatever.
Damn,
so
that bill must be crazy.
Yeah. So it was always a thing for me. From growing up, I always wanted, and I always looked in the behind the thing, but I always was wondering, like, how is it that behind every magazine or like in the New York Times, they had the horoscope, and they were saying that everybody under this thing was gonna experience that.
Right.
Like, how doesn't even make sense.
I think that's the hard part for a lot of people.
Right.
To be like, yo, that's it, 12?
Yeah.
12 ways to be.
But it's also like, I know 20 Virgos, right?
Right. And they're
We
different.
are all completely different. So how is it that I'm reading this horoscope and it's going to relate to each one of them?
Right. And that's when so all my life I was interested, but that's when I started diving into it because I wanted to know, because that didn't make any sense. And I was very skeptical because some things make sense. Yes. Some things was okay, on point. But then no, I'm not that Scorpio. I'm not that type of Scorpio. That shouldn't even make sense, right? They have Scorpios have a bad reputation, all about sex or whatever, like a nymph or whatever, or freaky. And you know how bad that is? Like when you speak to someone and you're going on a date and you tell them that you're a Scorpio, they're thinking I'm gonna tie them up to something or burn them or...
They're going in with this preconceived notion, like
you're a
she
Scorpio.
a freak. She's
and I'm like, far from that. I'm like the most vanilla person ever. You know what I mean? So I'm like, no, that's not true.
That's
so I started reading.
I don't know, it's me because I'm a Leo, and everyone was like, "Oh, Leo party time," and I'm like, "Bro, no."
I don't know what the fuck you're talking
I don't know. Yeah, but Just when I look at you, that's how I feel. I feel like it is. You are
Bro,
the party.
I'm
You are the
anti-party,
party,
my
son.
nigga.
Yeah, but you
I'm
are the party.
You anti-party because you bring
are
your
the
own.
party.
Bro,
Yeah,
I bring
You
your
are the
own.
party.
Fuck. That's why you don't like anybody else's party.
I think it's more like first I'm gonna answer. So looking into the zodiac signs, I want to let you know that that's just a Western thing that we the Western the Western world,
World, yeah.
created for commercial to make it more commercial and to make it marketable for the masses. So that is just like and as a real astrologer writing these things. But what they do is that they go and say certain things that are specific just to that archetype, and then it hits most people, and it's marketable. Period. But it's not.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all.
No,
Because then we get
and
it.
it's for entertainment purposes. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not that it's not real, but it's not. It's not applicable
It's
to your
simplified.
life.
It's not-
I think it's
yeah,
simplified.
yeah.
It's
a better-
not okay. It's not.
Yeah.
But when the for example the chart is different, and as astrology is different. It's the study of the cosmos, and it's a science. It's a technology that uses math and uses knowledge. You got to learn about the planets. You got to learn about the houses. You got to learn about luminaries, and you got to, which is the moon and the sun, and you got to learn about the energies that these planets emit, and then how it affects you on a personal level. Depending on where it is, these things are in your chart
I
or
think-
in your house.
I don't know if you want to like kind of get into.
Yeah, we can
some
get
of the-
into some
Give
of
us the
it.
highlights. Give
Yes,
us the
Highlights.
The
We can
hits.
do highlights.
The hits. Yeah, give us
Yeah.
the
And
hits.
then you ask me from there.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah,
Because
general-
the thing is that generally, what I think that I think that it could benefit you guys is knowing that about yourselves in interpersonal relationship, like your partnership, instead of your personal stuff, right? Because one, we don't have time for it. It will be like here forever, and two, you're gonna have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And you're gonna, you're gonna wanna, and
Yeah.
you're not gonna let the other one or him or you're gonna get into it because I know this. So we can talk about that, like interpersonal relationship and like partnership. I was telling you guys that what I know about you is that this is a good connection. Because, for example, your chart, when I was looking at your moon, like I said before, the moon is about, your inner things that people don't know. When I was looking at it, where it's positioned it's positioned between your first and your second house. And you have here Chiron, which is a planet or a small planet, but that planet that is placed there on that house is kind of like your karma and like your purpose, right? And karma is not what you think.
Karma's not like you do something
and
you're gonna-
bad,
it's gonna
something
come.
bad. It's just
Yeah.
the energy that you put out there, the energy that you get back. And it seems to me here that when I was writing that the purpose, being that you have these two things here on your second house, is the freedom to create intellect in life. That if you have that, if you lean into that, you'll be that part of you will be happier when it comes to your purpose and in your career. And the reason why I say that is because I saw a lot of in your fifth house, math, measurements, like a flair for writing. Like you have a flair for writing because you have Mercury there. And with that being said, you have Mercury in Virgo, which is your Virgo, right? You have Mercury
That
in
was
Virgo.
you told us that the
So-
first day we
First
met
time we
that
met.
we had
Yeah,
like
yeah,
something like together.
So in the fifth house,
Yeah.
fifth house is the house of inner child, of play, of pleasure, of only fun things and creativity. and is ruled by the sun, and is next to the like Leo, and you guys have that connection with each other. And that's why I know that when I was looking into this, I was like so excited. I was like, oh, what the fuck? This is great. This is a great connection. But then I was looking at his, and get this with him. His Mercury is in Libra, which is the way that he communicates, is in Libra. And your moon is in Libra. So the way that you feel, he knows how to connect. He knows how to talk
That's very
to you.
true.
I'm his fucking translator.
That's very true.
His Mercury is your translator to how you feel. So
I'd be
knowing
like, yo,
this,
what he really
in
means
this
is you better
circle,
shut the fuck up before he sends me to get you, bro.
you know what I mean?
That's
like knowing this about yourselves.
and the fact that we're working together, and that's like a necessary. It's like a useful tool to have.
And
right?
it's just interesting, even in the concept of the triangle, right? Like
Yeah.
The triangle that is us. Is,
Foundation.
you know, the connection point between Jeff and I, and then the connection point between Just and Jeff also is very like,
Yeah,
it just
that's a great point.
reinforces
Yeah,
that even more, which is
because I'm the mutual like.
yeah, he's the one that
Yeah.
I met just through Jeff.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, I would
That's
never.
crazy. So I was looking at that, and then for you, your midheaven is in Scorpio and Pluto in the 10th house. So what that lets me know, like I told you that you guys have a lot of planets in your community and in social. And for you, you're good with other people's money or other people's energy and public service. And you have Saturn there too next to it. But the thing with Saturn is that it slows things down, and delay is not necessarily denial. So hang in there for whatever it is. Keep going. Do what you need to do because you got this. And you're good at, seeing the wealth in things and in people and bringing it out. And if it's not happening right now, hang in there because that Saturn is likes to cook things slow. Because you don't want to eat the turkey when it's not done, right? You gotta wait. So just be patient with yourself. It's cooking and it's coming, but it's coming.
10-4.
Because you have Neptune right next to your Saturn, and Neptune is a planet of expansion and of taking risks. So when your friends come to you with an idea, your partners, try to look for the expansive opportunity.
I love that.
Because you have the ability to show it to them.
I love that.
Very much true. You read me like a book.
I actually really like that and we were even having a conversation about like, I'm telling Justin like we should be doing this XYZ, and like I felt like I was that person coming to him like, yo, you can like you could do this totally.
I felt like that literally right before you walked
Yeah,
in. We were having a whole
about
conversation
photography.
about photography.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that
word?
really started because I was like, we really gotta figure out a day where we can go
Do
and
this.
do this,
Yeah.
right?
And Justin
puts
like
together
blew us away.
a mood board and a slide that literally encapsulated like all of
He
the
blew us
thoughts.
away.
And this is right before you walked in.
Yeah, we
I'm
were
looking
literally
at
doing
it,
that
I'm
Is that
right
why we're quiet right now?
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's just that it's
I'm like,
because
what?
as you were
What's
just
going
saying
on?
that about
'Cause he's
as you were
quiet.
just saying that about Just, I'm like, I mean, we know like your personal situation right now, right? Like, and what you do financially, how you like. So it's interesting because you're hitting on points that even I can see, and I'm like, nah, that's very accurate.
fair.
But the last point specifically about bringing the creativity, the creative aspect to life, that's literally what just happened before we started having this conversation. Was, and I'm telling Just, I'm like, yo, this accurately represents exactly what I had in my head and how I would like to see this happen.
Yep.
And I didn't tell him anything. He just knew that, like, yo, we got to have a day to do this. And he just put it together.
Yep.
Like,
That's literally it.
That's pretty wild. Okay.
So that's fascinating.
That's very
I
fascinating.
just, you read me like a book. I just totally said it.
It's just that, it's tough, right? Because you get these opportunities with individuals like yourself that, like, and even as men, right? Like, I think that's also just like an important conversation to just or thing to hit, is that we are we're not very receptive to a lot of these things, right? So, like, when I brought this up and I was like, yo, we gotta have this conversation with Sandy, I already knew that there was gonna be like, I don't know, man.
We gotta talk about that.
Yeah, and it has nothing. It's nothing to do with you. It's
No,
just,
no, yeah,
it's
the
it's
topic.
more about the topic,
The unknown,
like,
too.
Yeah, because it's when you have these conversations about spirituality or the zodiac or tarot, it usually comes from females. It's usually a female that you know or that you're getting to know or in a relationship with that's highly innate to it or just the understanding of it, and they're the ones that are like encouraging those conversations. So it's very rare when you have a man that's saying, yo, let's have these conversations. And so you kind of said it all also at the very beginning of the conversation in terms of like hitting on just like mental health. These are some of those faux pas kind of topics within the male world that is not necessarily a conversation
So, we good on
that
that.
happens.
Yeah, we
Right.
good on
Yeah.
that. You gotta be very careful about, like, I was just telling somebody, like, I try to be like, I think we all have our moments where it's like we go through the shitter, like we're down in the dumps, whatever, however you want to put it. But I'm very mindful about like who I'm expressing that to, right? Like, and because I don't want everybody to see me like that, because
Right.
most people don't. That's all they know about me for that instance. So that's like they build the rest of their profile on that, right? Like, so obviously with like somebody that I have like intimate like friendships with is different, but I just think like you have to pick and choose where your energy, where you're like, no matter what kind of energy you're carrying, like you got to pick and choose at what point or which people you want to like kind of do that with, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure. You need to feel safe,
Yeah.
right? But it's interesting that you brought that point up, because as a mom of female and male, I've had to read on, how different these sexes are, because they are. I have to, and for boys, when they have a shitty day or something happens in school, right? Boys, they deal with it by playing video games or going outside and playing or whatever.
Blowing off
right?
steam.
Blowing off steam. That's what they call it. That's what we call it. Girls, they call each other and they tell you, they talk about it, right? And they call mom, and they do call, and they tell you all about it. And it's like, oh, it's a mess. The whole world is over. Even though tomorrow, all that never, like, it's okay.
But you got it out.
They got it out.
In the action.
So what happens is that boys are raised to be, these boys are men, and they don't talk about anything, period.
Yeah.
So the reason why girls can come up to you and ask you so vividly about your zodiac sign is because girls communicate so much. They have experience.
And communicate better.
Yeah.
When you get when you interview, you get good at that. You get good at interviewing with people, right? They tell you, practice makes perfect. Girls come up to you with zodiac shit because they talk a lot.
Doing it
Doing
for
it
a while.
forever.
They've been doing this forever, since they were 9 and 12. Boys, they go outside.
Yeah.
They blow off steam, and then they come back inside and nothing happened. They don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But the good thing about this generation
I was just about to go
is
there.
that this is a different generation. I'm so happy for you guys. I'm so fucking happy for you guys, because these spaces are happening more often. And it's men.
Yep.
So I was just about to say, like, you're absolutely right. Like, the way I blow off steam is if I'm not drawing a bunch of dicks on a paper or something, like, I'm fucking, like, I'm gonna play Xbox or play,
Right.
a PC game. But the difference now is that it's a combination, because I could talk to all my boys and we're more willing to be like, yo, I had a rough
I had a
day.
shitty day
But
today.
not even like, oh, like, this was my shitty day at work. It was like I had a really rough existential day.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right. Like I don't even know if I exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I think those types of conversations are happening a lot more often.
More.
And it's great because it's happening in spaces that we are used to blowing off steam in.
Yeah.
And I think that like that sort of change is where ultimately like everyone needs to fucking be
Breaking
headed.
stuff
And that's
up.
what's leading us to this. Because I feel like you were so receptive that day that we met, that we were like, we forgot that we were in a social space. We were just like, we were at
Vibing.
it.
But that's also because I am, and we could talk about this at a different time, but like I am at that point in my life where like it is so important for me to figure out who I am, right? And identifying just that point is a big deal for me, right? And like I understand that I'm not going to be able to get there alone, that I do need people to help kind of guide me on that path, and I'm also one that believes very much that like every moment is a teachable moment, every conversation is a valuable conversation, whether it's a minute-long conversation or it's a 2-hour conversation. There's a
something to take
value,
away.
there's something that you could take away from each one of those
Yeah.
that'll help influence what you're going to do next, right? In some aspect, whether it's subconsciously or like it's out there, right? So I am very much like, I'm open to it. Because I know that the world is so big and there's so much that we don't understand.
Right.
That if I get an opportunity to learn from somebody who has a somewhat more of an understanding of what this world is about and like who we are as beings, then I'm here for the conversation.
Right.
You know, like I think one of the most valuable things that anybody could do is get in touch with themselves and know who they are. You know, like you were saying before, knowing your sense of purpose. Like, do you like that is a very difficult thing because there are some people who will identify their sense of purpose early on in their life. Then there are some people who might not identify their sense of purpose until they're in their 50s, 60s, or whatever.
There's another group who believes they identified it early in their life, and then they realized that it was somebody else's.
Yep.
Purpose.
Oh, that's
It was
Yeah.
something that was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
put onto you.
Yeah.
So like
Absolutely.
it is something to be
Right.
like super mindful of. And I guess like that comes with like the wisdom of time, I guess, and like experiences.
Yeah.
But I guess just segueing real quick before we wrap up, Sandy, like I think that there's a lot that people can take away from this. But if you had to like give that one like piece of advice, specifically like I think I know Justin, you asked a similar question, but like with what Oscar just said, like one piece of advice is like how, because personally I think that you can also find yourself by finding what you are not. Right?
Yeah,
And like
for sure.
a process of elimination.
Yep.
Like, oh, that's like I don't vibe with this.
That's exactly what I did.
I don't vibe with that. And then you kind of have like a better idea, like, and it makes you feel more comfortable with being unsure about like who you are because you know all these things that you're not, at least.
Yeah,
At least.
but that's a start.
Yeah.
However, for me, not knowing, knowing what I'm not was always so much easier for me.
Really? Okay.
I know I'm not a supermodel. I know I'm not the most beautiful person. I know I'm not the smartest person. I know
I don't agree with
I know a
anything
lot
you
of,
just said.
you know what I mean?
It doesn't matter.
Those are the
that I
first
don't
things.
agree with it, but I'm just saying I don't
No,
agree
but
with
you
any of
understand?
that
Like
stuff.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that I might know about me. A lot.
Yeah.
I knew more about me of the things that I wasn't than the things that I was.
Yeah.
And when I started finding out more about me of the things that I was actually made more of a difference than the things that I wasn't. Because a lot of people tell me
Yeah.
a lot of shit that I'm not.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. I get that a lot even from our own parents. You're not this, you're not that, tú no eres esto, tú no eres aquello, you're not this. Or, you know,
Yeah.
I know what I don't like. I know I don't like a lazy man. I know I don't like to be broke. Like I know a lot. I know a lot of things. But do I know what it means to really not be broke? Like what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that really
Let's
mean?
open the definition of
Let's
the word.
open that up.
Yeah,
Yep.
because
Let's open that up. What does that mean for me?
yeah, that's a fact.
Not being broke. Not being, what is it? Like, is it a number?
And what other aspects of
Or
your life?
or is it, that my children are healthy, that
Yep.
I'm here in this space today with wonderful people, that this makes me wealthy, my health, that I am 47 is a privilege. That is wealthy.
Congratulations.
That is
Yeah.
rich. That my kids have me. That's rich.
All of you, right? Like a clear and present you, because I think that
Yep.
sometimes,
That's
So, getting to know you, like really you, not the things that you don't know, but know you, like the energies that you have that you can work with, is what's helped me get to find me with astrology, for example.
that's amazing.
Like just seeing that all the planets are in one house and what that means for me and how I can use that energy to work with myself and evolve and seek the help and seek community and just like to help me get to that point is curiosity. It's curiosity. It's why we're here.
And it's
why
also
we're here.
invaluable, like it seems, right? Like it's just something that we all gotta kind of treasure or try to at least.
I think that was the smart nugget though.
That was it. That was the brain food.
It's just stay curious.
Yeah.
Stay
I think,
curious.
and I think if you sum up everything that we've actually been talking about is be open-minded and stay curious enough to accept.
Yes.
You know? 'Cause,
Acceptance
like
is a
even
big
when
one.
you're not ready to accept it,
It's
if
coming.
you're curious enough, like
It will click later on
Yeah.
too. Also, like some people might tell you things right now that right now is not resonating with you. Right? But when you stay open, it stays there.
Yeah.
And then it'll circle back and they'll come to
You'll
you.
be like,
You'll know what you
oh,
know when you need to
Actually,
Yeah.
that's what they meant. Oh, like, yeah, I could see that. You know,
you
And
know
I-
what you know when you need to know.
when you need to know it. Sandy,
bars.
Bars.
that was a bar and a half.
Yep.
And that's a perfect way to kind of like wrap up. You blew me away personally. I don't want to speak for the guys.
I mean, blown away is probably an understatement for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
We gonna talk because I think you gotta
Yeah,
Do it.
put me on your list.
Consultation.
Yeah.
But the HappiHER podcast. Tell the world about it. Like,
Yeah, where
how
they
can
can-
they find it? What is it that you try to like do during these moments? Because for those who are not in your inner circle and can't be blessed by your gifts, it would be amazing if they can follow along and get enlightened a little bit. So share with us a little bit.
So
about that.
you guys, and so did Eggy. Eggy has
Shout out to Eggy.
shout
to
out
Eggy.
to Eggy and the podcast. The guys have encouraged me and supported me through this journey and have given me that little spark that I needed to be open also to share, because it's also selfish, right? That I have this little stuff here and that I just want to keep it. And I'm like, it's working for me. Like, it's not cute.
Yeah.
Like, share, right? So you guys have done that for me. Oops, sorry, the microphone. Have done that for me. So definitely what we're doing right now, as in me and the network, I belong to El Salon Network, El Salon Chronicles Network. Shout out to the ladies at the Salon.
Jersey.
Jersey.
Building.
Jersey. So what we're gonna do now is we're working on expanding the podcast and make it more accessible to people. Like if you want a chart reading or like, I'm open to do it.
Love that.
I never wanted to say that, but I'm saying it because yeah, fuck it, why not?
Bring your purses and your wallets, though.
Yeah.
And not only that, because for me,
Your spiritual person.
Your spiritual purses.
yeah, for sure. You know, I
Bring all
call
that.
that. I call that.
We call that baggage.
No, my friend calls that blessings. You know, spiritual blessings, or whatever, it doesn't matter. The thing is that what I realized is that, money is energy, and we need to share it. And when I'm hoarding this information, is also
Yeah.
energy that I'm hoarding.
Keeping.
So I want to keep it circulating. What my mentor, when she uses me, like when she comes, she lives in Atlanta, and she'll take a flight. She'll be like, I need to talk to you. She'll
Love
take
that.
a flight,
Love that.
and we'll stay in my house that weekend or whatever those 3 days are, 2 days. And we work things out. We work through stuff.
That's amazing.
And the energy exchange that we get from each other is not only monetary, because sometimes she'll bless me with a cash app, but sometimes it's not even that. It's also what she does for me. Because I always get a breakthrough through her breakthroughs.
I love that.
It's weird. And it also happens with
Pega.
my friends.
It's like, it's contagious.
Yeah,
like,
it happens with my friends. Like if my friends be like, "Yo, I need a Jay." Like Jerry will be like, "I need to consult. So we consult. Him and I consult in my bathroom, and we smoke, and we're in the bathroom, and I let him do, and we talk about what's going on in the astrals and whatever, bring it up to the concept and whatever. And then he has a major breakthrough. He thinks I'm helping him, but no, he's
that was all
it's
him.
him. He's doing it. But I'm having a major breakthrough through all of that too, because conversation does that.
Yeah, and it's what we were talking about earlier about the energy sharing. Like, I think like no, you always got to be mindful of the energy because like it's contagious. Like, if you come into a place like of like feeling a little bit more liberated or like open, that naturally is gonna happen. Like if the vibe is right, I'm gonna be more open to like creativity and like sharing dumb ideas and all that stuff. But if it's like a negative energy, I'm probably gonna be less inclined to like share anything about you and like maybe not even say that much at all actually.
Right.
So
Right.
I do love that there's an aspect of like como que se pega. It's like contagiousness
Oh,
to all
it's
this.
super contagious.
Yeah.
And hysterical energy too is super contagious.
Yeah, like manic energy.
All that is super contagious. But the good thing about being spiritual, about knowing yourself, is you know how to place boundaries.
That's
and you
right.
also people with certain energies, with certain frequency, elevate and also attract and maneuver themselves through that energy. They usually, when we call that low vibration, like in the lobby type of thing, like you're always in the lobby. When you're always in the lobby with somebody, after a while, when that's not your frequency, you leave. You go to the rooftop. You don't stay there.
You hit up the
We didn't
elevator.
come here to stay in the lobby.
That's a fact.
We didn't do that. We know. When you know, you take the
Yeah.
elevator and you go upstairs to the rooftop.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
You start itching like for something.
Yeah,
like,
it's
like,
something
like,
that's
alright, I
telling you,
can't-
your spirit. When you're connected to yourself, something is telling you, I don't belong here.
Same shit you said with a vacation. You can't
You
can't lay
can't.
around all day because you start like your
Yeah.
body starts telling you like, yo,
You can't
bro.
do this. And the good thing about listening to yourself is trusting your intuition and knowing that you just know.
Yeah. I feel like we could go all day about
Yeah,
this.
but then we're gonna get charged.
Yeah,
for
no,
content.
Sandy, let the people know where they can follow you on Instagram or wherever you want to share. Like, I think people should get in touch with you if they want to. They should learn more about the art of HappiHER. So just let them know where they can follow you.
So I have
Blessings. I'm just hoping that nothing but blessings comes your way.
For real.
Listen, words are spells. Okay,
Yeah.
so you just put it out there. It's gonna
happening.
happen. So and I'm here for it. I have the Art of HappiHER, the podcast, and in on Instagram. I also have my personal account, which is HappiHER Artistry. You can DM me. You can it does not matter. Like I have a whole tribe, and
love that.
and everyone has access to me at different times. I know how to balance it, so it's okay. Yeah, and it's all good. And we have workshops. We're coming up with journals. We're trying to do tarot cards, and it's all just tools to help you, like find your higher self.
I love that.
When you
Yeah.
say we're doing tarot cards, what you talking about?
I'm creating a deck.
You're making your own tarot cards.
Custom tarot
Custom
cards.
tarot cards.
Fire.
Yeah.
That
Can
is
you can we
insane.
get like it's something to add to the table here? Can we get like a
Yeah.
deck?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you
for
gonna
sure.
have to teach us how this thing.
Yeah,
how
no.
this
Yeah, and they'll, and
She'll
and-
break 'em
and
open for us.
everything. Yeah, for sure. And everything is, like I said, everything is things that you learn.
Yeah.
Anybody can do this.
Mhm.
You learn it.
Amazing.
It's really it's like it's black and white. To learn it, and then your spin, your interpretation is different. But that comes from experience, wisdom, and tapping into your security of knowing.
that intuition.
That intuition. Yeah.
Sandy,
There you have it.
Sandy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandy.
I feel motivated. I'm still super
Rejuvenated,
excited, rejuvenated
re-energized.
for this
Yeah,
conversation.
A lot of rees.
Got some action items definitely after this for sure. Thank you so much for one,
You're
spending
welcome.
time with us, two, sharing your journey and
being open
bringing
with us.
into this metaphysical world that a lot of us don't have much of an understanding about, but really want to.
Word.
So thank you, and again, an abundance of blessings upon you.
Thank you. I receive
and
it.
Everybody
Yeah.
else here too.
Don't forget to follow Sandy,
word.
her podcast, The Art of HappiHER, and HappiHER Artistry. You'll see it here. And follow us at The Smartest Pod on IG, TikTok, and YouTube. Bro, like just find us.
Yeah,
we will
word.
find you, but find us.
Harold, just zoom in real quick on the cup. You know what? We have posts. We could just do
Yeah,
this
you
in
know.
post too. We're gonna do this.
Do this in
Yo,
Yo.
yo, shout out to you guys. Thanks for listening. Check us out next for the next episode of The Smartest Guys in the Room. It's your boy O. We out.
Peace.